Hi, my name is Jessica Bird, and I'm the Collections Information Manager for the Department of Entomology at Smithsonian's National Museum of Natural History. My main role is to make sure that our collection data is published correctly to the internet so it can be easily shared with our scientific community and the general public. As a public institution, we want our data shared freely. However, that is not always easy. First, I want to quickly tell you about our collection. With over 35 million specimens representing over 400,000 species, we are one of the largest entomology collections in the world. The majority of our collection is dried pinned insects, and we also house specimens that are slide mounted, wet, and frozen. Currently, we curate and publish our data in one of four catalogs. We have the type specimen inventory, the specimen inventory, the species inventory, and the illustration and entomology archives. EMU is our official database of record. That means that if a specimen is not in EMU, then it is not considered digitized. We make our data publicly available on our own collection search page, and then specimen level data and images are sent to GBIF and other aggregate websites on a monthly basis. I also want to point out that all Smithsonian data and images published online are done so under the Smithsonian Open Access Guidelines. That means that all assets carry a CC0 license unless there is a valid restriction. When it comes to specimen level databasing, there can be many challenges. First, we are sharing very detailed information. Entomologists fit a lot of information on our tiny labels, and there are various data types that are contained within. Next, at least in our museum settings, we're trying to incorporate many different types of data sets. They may be legacy, they may be coming from an outside institution, or they may be freshly captured. But we're trying to put all of those data sets into one single database of record. Creating tools and templates for all these different data structures is also challenging. Finally, it is an expensive commitment, and it also takes a lot of staff time. While challenging, there are many things that we do to help make specimen level databasing easier and more efficient. First of all, every single specimen that we database must have a unique identifier that is human readable and physically on the specimen. I cannot stress how important this is for our collection. For our specimens, we use a scannable 2D barcode that has a readable alphanumeric number. We call this the USNM int label. With entomology specimens, you may have so many that were collected close together, and the data labels can be almost identical. So it's really important that we have these unique numbers attached to the specimens so that they can be easily tracked and so that changes can be made to the data. Next, whenever possible, we try to use pre-existing data standards. Since most of our data is shared globally, it's very important that we are using the standard field definitions whenever possible. In addition to closely following Darwin Core standards, we also try to stay up to date with current working groups so that we are using the best terms and definitions possible. We also like to make sure that if there are international standards, that we are following those as well. This goes along with standards, but it's very important to us that we document why and how we are doing things. While we all care deeply for our jobs and our data, the truth is that we may not always be available for consultation. However, having a written document that contains field definitions, decisions, and protocols can help others either actively database specimens or understand our data later in time. One recent example of this is that we discovered we had a lot of geography data that was flagged in GBIF. It turned out that we were not fully following the ISO 3166 data standards. After realizing this, we made changes to our cataloging protocols, and were able to update our user manuals to ensure that our data could be easily used across sites. Making data sharing as simple as possible is one of our current goals that we are working towards. We have found that if someone is doing data entry for us, that it's best to provide them a data template with guidelines. Currently, we are trying to send out Dropbox links that contain all of our data standards and templates, as well as serves as a place where that data can be returned. Most people that are using their time want to do things correctly, and that's easy for the receiving institution. There may, of course, be things that they either can't do or don't like, but if you're able to have those discussions up front, then you can work out any problems before you get your data back. Another thing that's very important to us at the Smithsonian is collaboration. It's important that we talk to colleagues in different fields about how they are storing and handling similar data. This is in part because we do share a database, but since our data is global, it makes the most sense to try to use the best practices for the time. Finally, we always want to remain flexible. Data management is always changing, and we're constantly learning new things. So we don't want to be afraid to adapt our protocols if we find something that works better. As I mentioned earlier, our data protocols are still being written, but we are hopeful that they'll be completed within the next few months. So if anyone were to have any questions about what we were doing, you can always feel free to reach out, and I'm more than willing to share any of our documentation. I just want to thank you all for your time and for your attention. Getting our data shared to the scientific community and the public is so very important to us. Thank you.